Special forces stormed the room, but for him, it was just the closing of a laptop screen. Inside that computer, hundreds of millions of dollars and the most dangerous digital secrets of the global underworld were being protected. With just one movement of his hand, it was all over. A powerful encryption system instantly hid the keys to a shadow empire controlling entire nations from American intelligence agencies forever. This is Paul Le Roux. Chaos and shouting echo through the hotel room. Le Roux is furiously cursing at the police officers, and in between, he is desperately trying to push a bribe on them. But the moment he realizes it is completely useless, he instantly goes quiet and starts whispering. "How much do you need? I am ready to pay whatever it takes. Just let me go." According to movie rules, everything should end right here. A life sentence or a bullet during the arrest. At this exact second, nobody knows that he is about to play his ultimate card. How did a regular guy from Africa manage to single-handedly bring American law enforcement to its knees? Why did the legendary Edward Snowden himself use his projects? And why is the whole world still debating whether this exact man is the real creator of Bitcoin? How did a reclusive programmer who rarely left his room manage to build a private army with heavy military equipment? And why was he officially nicknamed the Bill Gates of the criminal underworld? To find the answers, we have to go back to where it all began, to his childhood. It all started in 1972. Paul Calder Le Roux was born in Rhodesia, which is now Zimbabwe, but his biological mother abandoned him right at birth. He was adopted by a regular family, and soon after, they fled the local war and moved to South Africa. There is a critical moment here. He grew up during the apartheid era. This means street violence, militarization, and weapons were a completely normal part of his environment. Growing up seeing every single problem solved by brutal force completely distorts a person's understanding of the value of human life. But back then, Paul was not a ruthless monster yet. On the contrary, he was a victim of social isolation. Just picture a typical outcast teenager in your mind. Paul was tall, overweight, and clumsy. And since almost every kid in South Africa was obsessed with sports and physical strength, he became the perfect target for school bullying and mockery. He had zero friends. Every single day at school was a literal fight for survival. And just like many lonely teenagers, he found his escape. His stepfather gifted him his very first basic computer. This was a total game changer for Paul. He would stare at the monitor for days and nights. First, he played space simulators, and then he started digging into the code. Right at this moment, the first serious shift happened in his psychology. He realized one brilliant thing. In real life, he was a nobody, just an overweight kid getting beaten up and insulted. But right here, inside these lines of code, he was an absolute god. His first criminal experience started at the age of 16, and it was a real business. While other kids were playing outside, Paul was downloading adult pictures from the early internet, printing them out on old dot matrix printers, and selling them to his classmates. He actually got caught by the police for this, and what was the result? He completely abandoned school and did not even get his diploma. He just decided to dedicate his entire life to writing code. At 17, to avoid getting drafted into the military, Paul started moving between South Africa, the United Kingdom, and America, finally settling down in Australia. There he studied and gained citizenship. And this brings us to the late 90s. The internet was just starting to emerge. Paul Le Roux was not a criminal yet. He became a major cyber idealist. He jumped headfirst into the cypherpunk movement. These were radical programmers who believed that governments would soon start massive surveillance on citizens, and the only weapon for freedom was cryptography, meaning secure data encryption. Le Roux became completely obsessed with this idea. Living in absolute poverty, barely surviving on social benefits and his wife's salary, he was writing code day and night. And then, in 1999, he single-handedly created a true masterpiece, a software program called EEEFM, known to the public as Encryption for the Masses, was born. It was an incredibly powerful and completely free tool. The program could encrypt entire hard drives so fast that neither the police nor special forces could ever break it. On his website, he published a fiery manifesto stating that governments are invading our private lives, and encryption is the only way to protect ourselves. This tool quickly became a massive hit among cybersecurity experts worldwide. And right here, a moment arrives that would forever destroy the human inside Le Roux and turn him into a real monster. His program was a global hit, but since it was free, Paul did not earn a single cent from it. His wife ended up leaving him because he was a jobless man obsessed with his ideals. He was completely broke. Desperately trying to fix the situation and monetize his project, Paul joined a German company called Security Star. And guess what happened? The corporate bosses simply ripped him off. They took his brilliant code, claimed ownership, and kicked Le Roux out onto the street with absolutely nothing. For him, this was not just losing a job. This was the total collapse of his entire worldview. He faced a very brutal and terrifying reality. Your talent, honest work, and ideals are not worth a single penny, and kindness is just weakness. The capitalist world understands only one language: power and money. If you play by the rules, you will get eaten alive, meaning you have to become the one who writes the rules. By the way, to understand just how powerful he was, the code stolen from Le Roux later became the absolute foundation for the legendary TrueCrypt program. That exact software was used by Edward Snowden to hide top-secret files from the National Security Agency. Because of this incredible code and Le Roux's manic obsession with anonymity, many global cryptographers are still convinced to this day that the mysterious creator of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, is actually Paul Le Roux. But back then, in the early 2000s, Paul Le Roux was left completely alone, without a penny in his pocket, and with a massive grudge against the entire world. He no longer wanted to save people from surveillance. He wanted raw power and money, and he wanted them on such a massive scale that no one could ever use him again. To do this, he found a completely wide-open niche where he could apply his hacking genius. In the early 2000s, a massive crisis of prescription painkillers was just beginning in America. These were not just regular pills for pain. They were extremely powerful narcotic-based drugs that caused instant addiction. Thousands of Americans were massively buying them, not for treatment, but to get high, like regular drugs, quickly becoming dependent. And Le Roux found a massive loophole in American legislation. He decided to become the main shadow architect of this market, but purely in the digital space. Just imagine, he entered this illegal trade not as a typical mob boss, but as the CEO of an innovative IT startup. He launched a global network called RX Limited. Everything worked like a flawless assembly line. First, Le Roux deployed thousands of clone websites that aggressively advertised cheap painkillers. An American consumer looking for a dose would visit the site and hit the buy button. And then, the magic of legalization began. The customer was asked to fill out a 3-minute fake medical questionnaire. This survey instantly flew to Le Roux's encrypted servers. And right there, real but corrupt American doctors stepped in. Le Roux paid them $15 to $20 just for a single click. A doctor who had never seen the patient in his life and made zero diagnosis would digitally sign the prescription without even looking. On paper, it looked completely legal. Then, this digital prescription was automatically sent to a real, legal pharmacy somewhere in America that was also in on the deal. The pharmacy packaged the order and shipped the bottle of pills right to the customer's door via a standard delivery service. An incredibly and terrifyingly simple scheme. Le Roux completely automated the entire process. While he was sitting behind his laptop, call centers he hired in Israel were processing orders. A customer support department was sitting in the Philippines. In Eastern Europe, an IT support team was on duty 24/7. And he physically scattered the servers across Russia and China so the American FBI could not block or seize them. A single man was running this massive corporation entirely through his keyboard, and the numbers were just mind-blowing. This virtual empire was bringing Le Roux $2 to $3 million in cash, not per year, not per month, but every single week. From a broke programmer ripped off by partners, he instantly turned into a multi-millionaire. Sensing his absolute impunity, Le Roux moved his personal base to Manila in the Philippines. It was the perfect choice. A sky-high level of corruption, a warm climate, and laws that were easily bought with cash. There, he bought luxury mansions, married a local girl, literally buried her relatives in cash, and started the wild life of a real billionaire playboy. He had it all: limitless money, perfect security, and a system running like a Swiss watch. He could have lived in luxury for the rest of his days. But now, his brand new target was the transnational, brutal criminal underworld. The millions of dollars in cash flowing from online pharmacies had to be laundered. He launched a global money laundering network. He massively bought up valuable timber in the Congo, purchased gold by the ton from warlords in Ghana and Mali. He packed this gold into regular suitcases and secretly transported it to Hong Kong on commercial flights. Building these routes, Paul realized a very simple thing. If I can secretly move timber and gold, it means I can move absolutely anything. And just like that, the talented programmer turned into a ruthless drug lord. And even here, he acted as a true innovator. He funded laboratories in the Philippines producing the purest meth. And when he needed industrial scales, he reached out directly to the government of North Korea. He cut a deal with the closed regime of the DPRK to produce drugs right inside their state-owned factories. Parallel to this, he hid cocaine inside luxury yachts and shipments of frozen fish, organizing deliveries from Colombia all the way to Australia. And that was just the beginning. Le Roux entered the arms trafficking market. He supplied assault rifles and explosives to rebels in the Middle East, and even tried to sell secret missile technologies to Iran. But his most insane and terrifying project, he decided to build his own sovereign state. For this, he chose war-torn Somalia. There, Le Roux set up his own private military company, purchased heavy weaponry, and hired hundreds of local militants. His plans were truly wild, building his own airport, planting massive fields of opium, and using his private army for protection against Somali pirates. To keep this entire global network running smoothly, Le Roux needed a corporate security service. Only instead of guards in suits, he hired professional hitmen. His chief recruiter was a former US Army sniper instructor, nicknamed Rambo, the notorious Joseph Hunter. Le Roux bought up former Navy SEALs, Special Forces operators, and veterans of hot zones in whole groups. They were getting up to $20,000 a month just to sit around and wait for his orders, with massive bonuses paid out for every completed contract. For Le Roux, violence simply became a method for fixing corporate errors. He managed contract killings remotely through encrypted emails. His Philippine business partner, Noel Macapagal, stole a portion of the money. On Paul's orders, he was kidnapped, beaten up, and brought onto a yacht. Furious over the betrayal, Le Roux personally fired several bullets into him and threw the body into the sea. This was one of the very few times he actually got his own hands dirty. A real estate agent named Catherine Lee slightly inflated the price during a land purchase and pocketed the difference. Le Roux dispatched 2 of his American mercenaries. Posing as clients, they got her into a car, drove her to a wasteland outside the city, cold-bloodedly shot her, and dumped the body in a ditch. What is absolutely wild, in the surviving audio recordings, you can hear the multi-millionaire Le Roux furiously arguing with the hitmen, demanding they kill her as cheaply as possible. A British mercenary named Dave Smith was suspected of stealing African gold. He was simply tricked into a meeting, shot right in the forehead, and buried in an unmarked grave. Le Roux never hesitated for a single second to order the execution of customs officials who refused bribes, or ship captains who lost a cargo. Sitting in his luxury penthouse in Manila, he terminated human lives on the other side of the planet with a single hit of the Enter key on his keyboard. The system worked flawlessly. The criminal empire grew. It seemed this human algorithm was completely untouchable. An elite unit of the US Drug Enforcement Administration, Group 960, spent years scratching their heads trying to catch him. Virtually tracking down who was behind the RX Limited network was impossible. The server architecture and encryption system worked perfectly. But any system, even the most perfect one, collapses due to the human factor. Agents, tracking cash flows, caught a Brazilian broker who was laundering money for the cartel. The Special Forces launched an incredibly smart, multi-step operation. They knew perfectly well that the hacker had to be dragged out from behind his monitor into the real physical world. Le Roux was lured to Africa for a massive deal. He was offered a contract to set up cocaine amphetamines. So let us move to September 26, 2012, that exact hotel room in Monrovia. Sitting across from Le Roux are Colombian bosses, but in reality, they are DEA undercover agents. Local police burst into the room with a lot of noise. Le Roux manages to slam his encrypted laptop shut. In total desperation, he tries to offer a bribe and whispers, "How much do you need? I am ready to pay whatever it takes." But there is no way out. He is handcuffed, put on a specially chartered plane, and secretly flown straight to New York. What would a typical cartel boss do in his place? Demand a lawyer and deny everything? Choose omerta, the vow of silence, or death? But Le Roux is not a member of the mafia. He is a human algorithm. For the next 2 years, his arrest was kept a total secret from the entire world. Le Roux is sitting in a secret cell in New York, under 24/7 surveillance by federal agents. In June 2020, Paul Le Roux officially faced his trial. For the scale of his syndicate, tons of drugs, weapons trafficking, and proven contract killings, he was facing multiple life sentences. But the federal judge hit a wall. Yes, he called Le Roux's crimes worthy of a villain from James Bond movies, but his unprecedented, massive betrayal of his own people allowed America to take down an entire transnational criminal army. The final verdict, 25 years in prison. Considering the time served since 2012, his perfect behavior, and the possibility of parole, this criminal mastermind could walk out a free man as early as the beginning of the 2030s. The story of Paul Le Roux is not just about crime. It is about choice. Yes, he faced injustice, but life always offers us 2 paths. He directed his genius not toward creation, but toward violence, and in the end, he destroyed himself. If he had directed his intellect toward creation, like Bill Gates or Elon Musk, where would he be right now? What do you think? Is Paul Le Roux a victim of the system or a naturally ruthless monster? Write down in the comments and share your thoughts.